Here you can see our new subtitle, Cotton is King. Under this subtitle, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Southern economy and why the Southern economy is causing them problems at this time. In essence, the South is trying to cling to an old way of life that is fading. What they've been doing for the past 100 years or so is no longer working well, even longer than that, really, if we look way back into colonization, where the South has always kind of relied on plantations and one main cash crop. That current cash crop is cotton. Cotton was the foundation of the South's entire economy. They built everything around it. But even though it was that foundation, it was also the main problem for the Southern economy because at this time, prices of cotton started going down. Mainly, they're starting to run into competition with other countries and other countries that have developed production beyond what the South has on their plantations. And so these plantations just simply are not profitable anymore. Nevertheless, the Southern economy still relies on the plantation system with cotton as its main cash crop. And so the entire Southern economy has started on a downhill slope. It's important to note that at this time, the South was what's considered a one crop economy. A one crop economy is incredibly dangerous for the South because if cotton declined, as it was at this time, they would have nothing left. Now, you might think, why not just, start doing other things? Well, they don't really have the money to diversify their economy. What they really should be doing now is building up industry, because that's kind of the wave of the future, but they don't have the capital to put into building the infrastructure and the factories that they need to start growing industry because everything is tied up in plantations and cotton. They don't have a lot of extra money. The South, even though they're very wealthy, all of their wealth is tied up in land. So they don't have the easy money to start building factories and developing their economy in different ways. On top of this, plantations and cotton in particular depleted the land very quickly. So they were not farming in a very scientific way. And so they would farm cotton over and over and over again. And eventually the soil just did not have the nutrients that it needed anymore. Cotton production was just not very good for the land. So they would waste land and then the owners would have to move on. But a lot of these owners have owned this land for a long time. And so cotton production tended to spread farther south and then into the west. And the more northern states, like Virginia and Maryland, where their land was depleted, they would start slave breeding and selling those farther south. So at the same time, the cost of slaves is increasing. Slaves are growing more and more expensive. And this is, again, one of the hallmarks of the Southern economy. So the slaves were very, very important still to the Deep South. And so the Old South, like Virginia and Maryland, border states, and North Carolina, those areas, they were slave breeding to still keep up their economy. And Virginia, in fact, sold so many slaves to the Deep South every year that they were actually decreasing the population of African Americans in Virginia. So their entire economy revolves around this one crop, cotton, and slaves as the workforce to pick the cotton. But what they have not yet been able to accept is that this way of life is dying, and they will not be able to continue it for very long.